Chapter 18, Rig Justice. Whenever feasible, good generals rigorously train their men prior to campaigns, even if they are minor affairs, in which they expect the enemy to be readily defeated. So, in the main capital city training yards of the Red Guard troops, Usalata assembled his general staff while practicing standard hand-to-hand combat techniques. In the midst of lunges, parries, or thrusts, Usalata asked several questions of a brilliant young commander, Captain Commander Rafaro. Rafaro was a sober-minded, extremely capable, and honorable soldier who, if he had not been a full-blooded Aduma with all of its social disadvantages, likely would have been promoted to the high rank of Colonel Commander and second in command. The men immediately under the command of Rafaro adored him. Usalata prized Rafaro for his level-headedness and leadership prowess, but his lieutenant's physical beauty, from his exquisitely long braided hair, winsome face, and beautiful masculine physique, did not escape the constant lurking eyes of Usalata. Salata took Rafaro through his paces while simultaneously holding a conversation. Captain Commander, what is the progress of recruiting Aduma troops for my expedition to quell the rebellious West Idari province of Lord Kwantu? A veteran warrior, Rafaro responded to his general without hardly breaking a sweat. Lord General, the recruitment is sluggish because the Aduma are fearful about what has happened to Lord Sovereign Oto-Mani and do not see fighting for Lord Koture as honorable employment now that they are free. Usalata bristled. Damn it, they are not fighting for Koture. They are fighting for me. All present fell deadly silent. After a moment, second in command Colonel Commander Lagon timidly corrected Usalata. Lord General, I believe you meant to say that they fight. We fight, in the name and glory of the Sovereign. Usalata shouts. Do not correct me, Lagon. I am the Supreme Commander of the troops of the realm, a title I earned through valor and wit, not through inheritance or cunning. More nervous moments pass before Usalata regains his wits. But yes, of course I meant that we fight for the sake of the Sovereign. He turns to the other man. Rafaro, we will go to the great public square of the Aduma neighborhood and make a direct appeal to your Aduma kinsmen. As new citizens freed by the Sovereign, it is their duty and honor to join this crusade to protect the realm and to try and rescue the Sovereign. We have a sufficient amount of gold to convince them. Yes, Lord General. Rafaro dutifully obeyed. But Rafaro knew that his Aduma kinsmen were skeptical and cynical. For too long the realm had enslaved them to all of a sudden now care about their best interests. 3 days later in Makana, Fumo and Demdem conducted Oto-Mani and Diodi to their tribunal. The prisoners were provided water to wash their faces and other parts, but their bodies ached, especially their necks and shoulders, from their tussle with the Circle of Memory officers and from sleeping on concrete floors. Earlier, Fumo advised them, you two had better clean up as best as possible. Offending the council with body odor is not going to make them very sympathetic to your plight. Fumo, Oto-Mani measured his words. Even if cleanliness mattered, I don't think there's enough soap in all of your society to make your council sympathetic to us. Diodi spared any tact and angrily said, this is a sham court, a farce, and you know it! Fumo's yellow hair blazed. I know nothing of the sort. We are a just people, and we will show mercy if you merit it. Get on the autobus. After the autobus scaled a steep incline toward a high hill overlooking the city, it came to a stop in front of a plain-looking beige stone building. The most decorative feature of the building was its doorway, which was a beveled archway whose rounded, inlaid door had a concentric three-circle design, of course. Oto-Mani thought to himself, there is such a thing as far too many circles. Demdem, Fumo, and the guards escorted Oto-Mani and Diodi down a long series of hallways to a room where they would wait until they were summoned. In the main council chamber, Brother Tulu sat at an oblong polished desk before the assembly of the Circle of Life. This assembly was alternatively called the Inner Circle or Council of Elders, because no one who was a member was younger than 60 summers. It was convened in a great hall with majestic trappings. The 50 or so persons who were present sat at heavy cloth-covered tables and were dressed in august, colorful robes and headdresses. Like Tulu, only the members of the Circle of Love wore plain orange robes. This court was called a tribunal because representatives of the circles of memory, love, and life served as its jury. Tulu used a marble ball as a gavel and rapped lightly on his table to call the assembly to order. Greetings, dear sisters, brothers, and beloved others of this tribunal of the Circle of Life. This gathering will come to order. Happy love to all. The assembly members cheerfully returned the greeting. We gather to hear testimony as to the guilt or innocence of the Makani dictator in exile and his bedmate. They are charged with violating the 112th scripture of the portal to the predecessors and other laws. Tulu said even more somberly, I remind all present that you have taken an oath of silence. Do not discuss any of these deliberations with anyone outside of this hall or else. An uncomfortable silence punctuated Tulu's warning. According to official records, it had been at least 100 summers since this council sat in tribunal for a violation of the intrusion scripture. As Lolo shared, most Makani knew very little about Rakana except for its existence, and like Tulu, some were skeptical of that. Only Circle of Memory officers or members of this council knew more. Tulu then said loudly, "Bring forth the prisoners!" The entrance doors swung open widely and Diodi and Oto-Mani were escorted in to stand before Tulu's desk. Their hands were shackled, and they were flanked by burly Circle of Memory court guards. Gravely, Tulu stated, "Dictator in exile and his bedmate, you have been charged with violating the 112th scripture of the portals to the predecessors and other laws. How do you plead?" Oto-Mani fumed. "First of all, my name is Oto-Mani, 33rd of that name formerly Joe Muzi, and I am the Lord Sovereign of the Fire Realms of Rakana, as well as Noble Master of the House of Kanza. You will properly address me and my beloved Diodi as—" Tulu rolled his eyes and then cut off Oto-Mani. "Duly noted. How do you plead, Rakani prisoners?"
"Profoundly innocent no matter your trumped-up charges,"
stammered Diodi. "Duly noted. Sister Advocate, present the charges." A regal woman in maroon, yellow-trimmed robes stood holding a handful of papers or parchments that she leafed through as she spoke. Although her expression was full of light, her words were heavy with shadows.
Esteemed members of the Circle of Life, in tribunal, this case is simple and based on the aforementioned 112th scripture of our blessed portals to the predecessors. It reads,
She looked down at her papers.
"Let no dweller of the Badlands of Rakana intrude upon your territories, for to do so is to invite destruction. Once they are discovered, shun them and drive them into the sea, for they are harbingers of death."
She added,
"The universality and the divine circles demand this tribunal convict these two Rakana dwellers, one of whom is the dictator of those lands. If you do not convict them, you invite others to come and corrupt or even to conquer our paradise."
Tulu then responded, "Understood. Present the state's evidence, Sister Advocate."
"Thank you, Brother Presider, Tulu."
She turned in the direction of the entrance doors and said,
"Brother Leader Fumo, come forward and testify."
Fumo was startled that he was called because he still was in the midst of a serious conversation with Demdem, his lieutenant, right outside the council chambers. Fumo always thought it was unfair, downright prejudicial, that by Makani custom Demdem could not enter the council chamber just because his non-human presence intimidated some of the narrow-minded members of the council. Fumo rapidly whispered to his elephant companion, "My brother, stay alert because I have a bad feeling about this whole situation with the two intruders."
"Okay, Brother Fumo. Now hurry in."
Fumo walked into the chamber. His bright yellow afro was frizzy, probably from a recent washing, but the red robes he wore were elaborately trimmed in gold, as though this was a formal occasion, because it was. The advocate addressed him.
"Brother Fumo, leader of the Circle of Memory, please testify to the guilt of these two defendants."
Fumo began. "Esteemed members of this tribunal, near the portal of no return, my men located a blank piece of parchment. My men were unaware of its significance, but I learned from Brother Tulu that such an object, when subjected to fire, reveals its secrets for several hours. It is a map of a pathway between one portal in the Badlands to the corresponding portal of no return. This map was located where two of my border guards were paralyzed via a form of evil science. If their petrified bodies had not been discovered, we would not have conducted a thorough search of the area and located the map. We also located an Oto-Mani upon the person of these two intruders, which, as you know, is a forbidden object. The Oto-Mani transmitted a message from one of the dictator's relatives in our very presence. And additionally, the defendants violently resisted arrest by my officers, and in the process severely injured many of my officers." Oto-Mani shouted his objection. "That Oto-Mani was given to us by one of your own citizens!" Tulu cut off Oto-Mani before he blurted out Lolo's name. "Silence, prisoner! You will have an opportunity to present your defense! Silence!" Sister Advocate, proceed.
"Thank you, Brother Presider."
The advocate sought clarification.
Brother Fumo, you speak of women and men who are part of your force. Remind the council of whether these border guards and others are sworn to secrecy.
Yes, Sister Advocate. All members of the Circle of Memory are sworn to forget any knowledge of these intruders. We want to avoid a panic.
I see.
Fumo finished his testimony after a few additional questions. Tulu added, "Fellow members, as I have submitted in written testimony, I witnessed that these two were ignorant of our customs, aspects of everyday life, and of our history in ways that strongly indicate they are not of our land. All of this information quickly descended upon the thoughts of the council like a dark sheet, cloaking out any possibility of light." A counselor to the left of Tulu, a short round woman with golden hair, asked,
Brother Presider, what of the testimony of your son-daughter Lolo? Do they have anything to share with this tribunal?
Tulu lamented. Unfortunately, they do not. That was all that Tulu divulged. The advocate concluded,
I rest my case, members of this great circle.
Very well. Tulu scribbled on a paper before him, and then stated loudly, Prisoners, defend yourself! Oto-Mani's tone was betrayed by his anger.
Defend ourselves when we are already convicted? This is not a tribunal. It is an execution.
The advocate was aghast.
Brother Presider and members of this great circle, I believe additional charges are in order against these defendants for their political heresy against the people of the Concentrium.
Oto-Mani flinched and was about to react, when Diodi tenderly touched the hand of his lover, and interceded before Tulu could respond. With his eyes, he cautioned Oto-Mani not to proceed. After Oto-Mani backed down, Diodi resumed. My beloved and I simply want to understand the nature of the charges against us. How else can we properly defend ourselves? Tulu frowned but decided to dignify Diodi's question with a response. Have you not been listening? You have been charged with harming 2 border guards, trespassing upon our lands, and nearly killing several officers of the Circle of Memory when you attempted to flee from capture. Is that sufficient detail? Diodi flashed a grin full of artifice. Many thanks, judges. We have stated we are innocent because we hope the people of Makana are reasonable people. In fact, we ask for asylum among you because my beloved and I are exiled from our lands for the very type of freedom and love that you hold sacred here in Makana. You are not citizens of Makana, and thus have no right to request asylum under the laws of Makana. Tulu interlaced his fingers in front of himself to punctuate his words. Several counselors nodded their agreement with his circular logic. Futile as it seemed, Diodi still proceeded with their defense. There's an obvious contradiction. May I ask a question of the state's advocate? Tulu vented his aggravation. Proceed, but do not make a farce out of this divine tribunal. Diodi flung one of his braids out of his face. Does your sacred book, the portals, prevent you from believing that at one time long ago that your people of Makana and the people of Rakana were one people? Instantly, the entire chamber erupted into peals of laughter. The advocate could not contain her chuckling but responded eventually.
Surely, your defense is not to equate the cruel people of your land with the benevolent people of Makana. That is not your argument, correct?
Diodi grumbled. Your cruelty at this moment makes you very much like my people. He lowered his head, defeated. Oto-Mani bristled again. You call yourselves a paradise, and yet you live by rules of intolerance? You live by rules that stipulate people like me and my beloved are morally and intellectually inferior? We are no different than you. We want the same type of love and freedom you enjoy. And yet you and your perfect society want to dispose of us. Why? With the drumming of his gavel, Tulu silenced the loud murmur that rumbled among the counselors. Order! Order! Over the disquiet, Tulu said, Dictator, our society is not on trial. Strenuously objecting. My name is Oto-Mani, goddess damn you. Tulu winced. Very well, Oto-Mani. You have spewed to this tribunal nothing but baseless heresies and disrespectful words. Citizen guards, remove them from this chamber. Oto-Mani and Diodi protested while they were wrangled out of the door. Demon shit, what are all of you so afraid of?
Yes, babe, they're scared as hell of us.
The chamber doors were slammed behind them with an ominous thud as excited whispers echoed among the counselor jurors. It did not take the circle of life in tribunal long to deliberate and reach a verdict. Oto-Mani and Diodi were retrieved by the guards and reappeared before the council, this time wearing golden shackles. Before Tulu announced the verdict, he placed an orange turban upon his head. With a grave tone that hinted this tribunal would show no mercy, Tulu opened a book before him and began to read the verdict. Oto-Mani and Diodi, ruler and servant of the ruler, from the Badlands of Makana. The two turned and faced each other while gripping each other's hands. This tribunal of the Circle of Life finds you both guilty on the charges of breaching and violating the portal of no return, trespassing upon the lands of the people of Makana and of its Concentrium, harboring the forbidden object of an Oto-Mani, and inflicting bodily harm upon citizen guardians of the Circle of Memory. Oto-Mani and Diodi swallowed and steeled themselves against what they knew was coming. For these violations of the 112th scripture and sundry other laws, this tribunal sentences you to death by water, to be carried out immediately. May the blessings of the divine circles remain unbroken. This tribunal is adjourned. One loud bang of Tulu's marble stone gavel ended the proceedings. The counselors stood as Diodi and Oto-Mani were escorted to a holding cell to await their execution. A little time later, Brother Tulu, in a secret alcove of his council office, spoke in weighty hushed tones to an image in a large crystal. Ko Ture, the deed is done. Your dictator and his bedmate will be put to death by water within the hour. Your men will not encounter any resistance in returning the pregnant girl back to your land. I'll see to it. But they should keep their faces hidden so that they cannot be identified by any of my Makani people. Now there must be no more intrusions from your people into our blessed Concentrium of Makana. Very well, Cousin Tulu. We appreciate you keeping your word this time. Too eager to transmit the brief message, Tulu errantly did not double-check that the outer doorway to the alcove was completely closed. Fumo had approached Tulu's council office to confirm that the prisoners were ready to be transported to their execution. He discovered the open door, and his mind raced from what he overheard. He quickly retreated back down the hallway until Tulu came to find him.
Now, good people, please like, comment, and subscribe to catch the next thrilling episode of Red Circles of Fire.